Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Hi, welcome to this episode of CAM Matters. I'm Suzanne with Betsy Barbieux. Betsy, let's just come out of the chute and say the government's at it again. What's going on?
Please don't get me started. We're waiting, a check as of this morning, I'm waiting for the governor to sign 2 more bills, which I wrote to him and asked him not to sign. And
you did, okay.
I know that a lot of people have worked really hard and they're really proud of these 2 bills, but they're awful. They're awful. And no one has done us any favor with House Bill 1203 or House Bill 1021. No one.
All right, tell us about them.
Favors. And well, let's just say it appears that legislators have forgotten the purpose of a community association and the purpose of a board meeting. They have put in the homeowner association changes that, for one thing, they've said managers have to attend at least 1 meeting a year. Well, I would think that managers do attend a meeting a year, but then to require managers, we're required to take 15 hours of continuing ed. That was a reduction from 20 hours of continuing ed that was made during COVID. Okay. The reduction should never have been made. It should have been increased, for one thing. Managers need more education. But they've reduced it to 15 during COVID. And now they've said for HOA managers, not condo and not co-op, but they've said for HOA managers that you have to take at least 5 hours every 2 years of education specifically related to homeowner associations and 3 hours of it in record keeping. As a provider of the classes, I don't know now how I am supposed to create classes that all managers can take. And wow. Here's what I would say. Here's my whole 5 hours of educating a manager on a homeowner association and record keeping. In a homeowners association, the owner owns the dirt. In a homeowner association, all the common property is owned by the association. You keep your dirt, they keep their dirt maintained, and record keeping, keep the records. Anything that's written, keep it.
Right.
That's my whole 3 hours, 5 hours of class.
Right there.
Right
you
there.
Passed.
That's it.
Right.
I don't know what else I would teach. And then
wow.
The thing is, there's no way that the state knows who manages homeowner associations. Our licenses are good for all 3. Well, 4, condo, co-op, HOA, and timeshare. Our license is good for all 4 types of communities. There's no box that anybody has checked on their online account with the state that says, hey, y'all, I manage a homeowner association. Right. And what about managers that manage all 3? They're supposed to devote 5 hours of 15 hours? 5 hours of 15 hours for
what do you think prompted that?
Well, there are managers that do bad things. And there are managers, as we talked about in the last show, managers are getting less and less quality education. They're taking the online classes, they have no one to talk to, and they're passing a test. And if you're a good test taker, it's easy to pass the test. If you're a bad test taker, then you need a whole lot of discussion and explanation on what you're being tested on. But there are managers that I talk to on a regular basis that, well, let me say that differently. I talk to managers on a regular basis, not the same ones. And the questions that I'm asked, sometimes I wonder, they should already know that answer. They should already know that.
Right.
And I know that some call me for confirmation, but
Right.
I do the same thing that they can do. I just look it up.
Right. Right.
Not that I have.
You're concerned with the level of question that sometimes you're getting, that they should be educated on that.
Yeah, I'm thinking sometimes that you should already know that.
Right.
This carving out, I don't know if I'm supposed to create a class for homeowner associations and have a whole separate continuing ed track for them. It makes no sense. So obviously whoever wrote this into the law has no clue how the educational system actually works and the accounting part of the hours, how that works with your with the state. We have a Department of Business and Professional Regulation account, each of us does, that keeps track of our continuing ed. Right now, unless they create a whole new screen, there's no place to check a box that someone came to my HOA training. So,
Betsy, let me ask you this. Let's assume that this episode is going to be sent to decision makers.
Oh,
just for fun. What would you want to say to them?
Talk to somebody who knows how it works. Talk to somebody on the grassroots level. And I know that we have our professional organization lobbyists. I know that they lobby and a lot of this, they think this legislation is great. But I think you need to come down a little further and talk to the ordinary person. Mm-hmm. In the condominium laws that they've passed, they're requiring that, let's see if I can find it and quote it, but they're requiring that boards have at least one meeting a year to let the owners ask questions.
Okay, now that's from what you've talked about in a lot of previous episodes. That's exactly what a board meeting is not for.
That's exactly what a board meeting is not for.
Right.
And the problem with that is that owners, when they are given a chance to speak, especially in front of the whole board, and to speak on anything they want to, they expect that since the whole board is there, that they should be able to make a decision right then and solve my problem. And when the board is going to tell them, no, we can't handle that right now. It's not on the agenda. We're not prepared for it, blah, 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 blah. Now they get more angry. I see this Q&A session as opening boards up to abuse. And
I was going to say, it seems like it's opening a can of worms.
It will not work. There is plenty of other opportunity to get information from owners and to owners, but a board meeting is not the place for it. Our legislators are not profoundly aware that board meetings are business meetings. They are not informational meetings for the owners. This is where they get their business done. They deal with their contracts, their vendors, their accounts payable, accounts receivable, violations, maintenance, insurance, repairs, construction projects. That's what the business meetings are for. They can have, in fact, I was over in Newport Richey this week and talking with a co-op board. And I said, you can have donuts and coffee on Tuesday morning at the clubhouse with a board member or two and listen to the concerns of the owners. You have websites, you have newsletters, you have Facebook, you have Open Door, you've got all of these other places that you can provide information to your owners, but the board meeting's not the place for it.
Betsy, one of the things as I'm talking about, it sounds like it's opening a can of worms, is there's already clearly a struggle with organization and the concept of wrapping your mind around what the board meetings are for. This is now putting kind of another dent in that can that's being bounced around.
Oh, but get this. I'm not finished. Board members in an HOA have to have 4 hours of continuing ed if their communities are under 2,500 parcels. If they have more than 2,500 parcels, board members have to have 8 hours of education annually. Who's keeping track of that? Board members don't have licenses. Where do you report this? Who's keeping track of it? What board member is going to come to a class for 8 hours?
Are we going from 0 to 4 right now? We're going from, you don't need, right?
Well, right.
Okay, let me ask you, Betsy, who's going to volunteer? It's already a struggle.
Oh, you already figured it out. When we start telling board members they've got to take 4 hours or 8 hours of education, do you think we're going to have a mass exodus? Do you know how many board members are going to say, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need any education. I quit.
Right. Now I'm getting upset about this. I mean, come on. It's already hard to get people on the board. You know?
It's already hard. And what they've added, and I think it's only to, because see, they don't add the same thing to condo, co-op, and HOA, so I haven't gotten it all in my head yet, but they've added that the directors now in a condo, the directors in a condo are required to take the not pre-licensing. They're required to take a board certification class now. Up until now, board members could self-certify. They could sign a statement that says that they know everything. They read all their documents. They understand their fiduciary duty. We always call that the perjury statement. But or they can take a class. Now it requires them to sign that statement and take a 4-hour class.
Wow.
And we've got probably close to, I don't know what it would be, 50,000 maybe or more, probably more now, community associations that are condos and co-ops in the state of Florida. Multiply that times average of 5 board members. You tell me that we have enough resources to train that many board members in a year? No, we can't train that many board members in a year. And as far as I know, I'm the only provider that already has a 4-hour class. All my board certification classes are 4 hours. Most everyone else's is an hour. So
you better get a bigger office, Betsy.
But when you start requiring board members to take a class and then require them to take continuing ed that you don't report anywhere, nobody knows if they took it or not.
Right.
I mean, you think in terms of continuing ed when you have a license.
Right.
That you have to keep current. But there's no reporting system at this point for board members.
Betsy, I feel like we could go on and on about this. Let's get some final thoughts on this because we have a special guest that's going to be making an appearance shortly in this episode.
We do. Let me end on a kind of a more positive note. The estoppel bill that we were all worried about did not pass. That did not pass. So,
and remind us what that was about.
The estoppel bill was going to revoke our ability to charge for preparation of the estoppel. And for communities that use that estoppel income as some income, that was going to not be favorable for the communities. And for those of us that are management companies, that's additional income for us when we prepare the estoppel. But that's the form that we prepare when you're going to sell your unit and the closing agent wants to know if you're current in your payments.
Oh, gotcha.
And if
Okay.
you're not current in your payments, then they'll collect what's due at closing and then give the association what's owed to it. So,
Okay.
so there's a charge for preparing that, and that was going to be taken away, but that bill died. There is a, pardon me while I look here.
A lot of paper.
There were some
Yeah.
changes made to vacation rentals, Senate Bill 280, that people can look up and take a look at. There was quite a bit done in House Bill 1503, that's the citizens insurance. And it looks like they removed limits on condominium eligibility for windstorm coverage. That for windstorm was not coverage was not available if 50% or more of the units were rented 8 times a year. So it looks like they've removed that short-term rental
Okay.
portion that makes them ineligible. 720 also has to now have a website if they have 100 homes or more in the community. So homeowner associations now have to have a website. And it seems like there was
That seems like a positive change.
and that's fine. And it's in 718 in condos, the board has to have quarterly meetings to let owners ask questions. So
Wow.
that's just too much. That if owners are going to be allowed to have a free for all, it's just going to create more chaos in the meetings. And it then truly is not a board meeting. It's just an information meeting. And
it's a cycle. It's going to be chaos. People aren't going to want to volunteer to be on the board. Now they got to do training. It's just getting harder and harder.
But these two bills are not good. And I looked today and it appears that Governor DeSantis has still not signed them.
Okay.
But
Betsy, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then you've got a guest we're going to bring in. We've got a couple more very important things to talk about on the other side of this break.
Thank you.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Welcome back to this episode of Cam Matters. We've got a special guest.
Oh,
She's very beautiful.
Look
Let's
what's
show
coming
her
up. Look what's coming up. The summit, the yearly educational summit. And we always have our pink flamingos there at the registration desk. But she is beautiful. I need to get her a flower for her hair. But
She is beautiful.
remember, beach, sun, fun, and learn. Whoop, she's flying out of my hands here. Sun, fun, and learn. Get ready to come to the summit. We're getting geared up. It's only April. But the summit is coming in August, and I already have almost 24 people registered. So you better get your seat. Yeah, I do.
Wow.
But she'll be back, and she's got a friend.
Okay.
She'll be back. But the summit is coming up Thursday and Friday, August 15th and 16th. It'll be at the Venetian Center again in Leesburg, Florida. I already have people signed up from the Panhandle and from South Florida. I've got facilitators Mitch Drimmer from Axela. He'll be speaking to us on collections, have Phil Massey from Assured Partners who'll be talking with us about insurance. I have Matt Queasley from Reserve Advisors who will be talking about reserves. Jane Boland, one of my attorney friends in South Florida, will be doing the legal update. We'll also have a session on roofing and roofing contracts. Still waiting on confirmation of my speaker on that. And then I will facilitate part of day one. It's going to be fabulous. And what's so funny is some of the people who came last year are coming again because it's so much fun.
It's fun.
It is.
And the food.
And food.
The
And
food.
food. And Miss Debbie is cooking again. So we will have cookies, chocolate chip cookies. But we also have, and let me see if I can get them here real quick. I also have great sponsors already. I've got 3 sponsorship positions open still. But our event sponsor, again, is Vice Painting. And I always want to thank Matt and Jean for sponsoring. They make it possible to have the event at the Venetian Center. So that's really great. I've got Stone Building Solutions as the breakfast sponsor for day 1. Got Valley Bank as the breakfast sponsor for day 2. I have just got them. Unlimited Restoration as the lunch sponsor for day 1. And I have Connie Lorenz Asphalt Restoration for our social hour sponsor. So that leaves open anybody, a gold sponsorship, a silver sponsorship, and 1 lunch sponsorship. That's all.
And it's great exposure going right to your raving fans, that target audience. It really is when you sponsor. Betsy, we got to start to wrap up, but before we leave, I want to address an article that you recently wrote about buyer beware.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Caveat emptor. You'll find it in the March issue of the Journal. You can read it online, or you can email me and I'll send you a copy. I've had recently people say to me, gee, if I had known all of this about community associations, I wouldn't have bought here. Wow. And that's a shame, because a lot of people, as we've talked about before, a lot of people do like living in a community association because everything is kept nice. You typically have compliant neighbors. There's always 5% that's not. And you know that you're not going to have a refrigerator sitting out in the backyard. You're not going to have a broken down car sitting up on blocks in the driveway. And you know that there's going to be decency and order and usually civility. But if you're a free range person, community living is not for you. And you need to know that you are giving up some of your rights to do with your property what you want to when you live in a community association. You may not be able to hang a tarp or a screen from the side of your carport to hide yourself from your neighbors. You may not be able to hang something.
A clothesline.
You can have a clothesline, but there will be restrictions on a clothesline. You can have flags, but there are restrictions on flags. So there are restrictions on house colors. It might be that you cannot have any yard art, like gazing balls and little angels and whatnot in the flower beds. You might not be able to have those. In a condominium, you might not be able to hang a wreath on your door at holiday time.
Wow.
And you need to know those. And the article that I wrote suggests that you need to make yourself fully aware of those restrictions before you sign on the dotted line, because once you sign on the dotted line, you are now contractually obligated to everything that is written in those documents. And somewhere in your closing papers, you signed saying that you knew about that and that you had read the documents. But we know that you didn't. But yet you are now contractually obligated to all the other owners who live there. And so buyer beware, caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Love it. And again, how can you get the article?
Well, they can get it by emailing me at the address below, or it's
Okay.
online at the Journal. And the website is FCAPgroup.com.
Wouldn't it be nice if every realtor got a hold of that and had that available for people they were showing homes
Gee,
to?
wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it
Just
be?
an idea.
It would be great. And I'm doing the best I can to educate as many people as I can. I have the in-person classes, and I have you and the channel here.
Get that message out. That's right. Yeah. Betsy, you do an amazing job. You are loved all around the state. And just thank you for what you're doing. You're making such a huge difference. And if you love these videos, if you like the episodes that Betsy puts out, would you just share them or maybe like them, comment, let us know. You can even rate them. Give us a thumbs up. It makes a big difference to Betsy and her channel. So thank you for doing that. We will talk again next month in May. And Betsy, have a great day. It was a joy talking to you.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.